Hey, how's it going, Jeff?
Uh, Hey, good man. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I know we're a couple weeks removed from it, but how's your body feeling following that crazy ladder match at Clash of Champions? Because at this point, with the stage of the R at your career, you talked about in the WWE Day of a couple of days ago. Does doing that kind of crazy stuff kind of reassure you that you could still do stuff like that at this stage of your career?
Yeah, incredibly. I felt really. I mean, I was sore, but nothing major. Like I
Hmm.
felt really good. Like 2 or 3 days after that ladder match, I was pretty much normal. But I just recently in that triple threat match with myself, and Seth Rollins. I hurt my neck, and that was the first like injury I've kind of had since I've been back. But it feels much better now than it did then. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've just been lucky, man, overall.
So obviously you're facing Elias on Sunday at the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view. We're still in the early stages of the story right now, but what have been your thoughts in the recent rivalry that you've had with Elias and how it's kind of compared to other feuds that you've had since you've been back with Sheamus, AJ Styles, and Sami Zayn?
It was strange, man, seeing like the footage from whenever that went down, the fake arrest and all that stuff with the wreck, and it was real weird watching it back. But I mean, it's cool. It's pro wrestling, and I knew that that whole controversial storyline with Sheamus, the beauty behind all of that is that outcome I knew was going to be great. Like me going in there against two enemies, the alcohol and Sheamus, and
Mhm.
actually a few of my ideas is the reason that thing kind of came about. So that just made me feel really good that the outcome was such a good payoff and a positive, payoff as far as I'm concerned. And now that Elias is kind of bringing that back in, I'm sure it's going to move on to something bigger and beautiful. And especially since he's involved in music, I'm involved in music. I think a lot more than just a wrestling match can happen moving forward.
Well, I was going to say, so you mentioned on Raw Talk on Monday about a potential battle of the bands type of thing. Have you ever been interested, because you've been with WWE on and off for a long time now, about bringing your music to WWE TV? Because it's no secret that you've done a lot of music. You sing a lot of your own songs and whatever, used your own theme songs and Impact at one point. Would this be the perfect time to bring your music over to the WWE world?
I think so, and I don't know how long ago it was, but I don't know if I had a dream or just a vision. But like I was performing at a WWE show, and I remember this was way before I even had gauges, so this is a long time ago that I
Mhm.
actually kind of seen this in my head happening. But I was like doing some kind of musical performance, and I had gauges in, so I'm pretty sure it was probably just a dream I had years ago, and I was like, and then maybe that's that deja vu moment that's just waiting to happen in my career.
So, kind of on the subject of theme songs and stuff like that, while you were in Impact, you used all your music. Like every theme song you have was recorded by you yourself, which was really cool. Have you ever pushed for? I mean, obviously you have the Hardy Boys theme song in WWE. You're pushing for No More Words. I'll ask about that in a moment. But have you ever wanted to use your own music in WWE, or wasn't just really not the right place for it?
God, I just recently thought about this, like doing cardio the other morning, because I looked at my old Willow entrance music in the other wrestling world, and I was like, whoa, that would be really cool if I do ever introduce Willow
Mhm.
inside the WWE universe and do my own song for Willow. But as far as my music goes, that Hardy Boys music is for Matt and myself. Although I am using it now, hopefully if we get back in front of like actual audiences, we're saving No More Words for that, because when I re-signed, that was my main thing. As long as I get No More Words back when we get back in front of live audiences, I'll stay for a few more years.
And you've said that before, so you wanted to use No More Words when you're back in front of crowds, which is cool. The crowd's going to react crazy to that because it's been so long since we last heard it. So when you say when you re-signed, when you wanted to use the music, that was one of the things that you kind of re-signed for. Was that when you re-signed this year or when you initially re-signed a couple of years ago?
That was this year. That was this
Okay.
year when I came back from knee surgery. Yep,
Mhm.
very recent.
So now that you're on the Raw brand coming out of the WWE draft, the brand that you haven't been on your own, obviously you came back to Raw a couple of years ago with Matt, but on your own since 2008, which is such a long time. Were you surprised with the move and going to Raw as part of the draft and, kind of being more of a SmackDown guy over the course of your career? Or is it, just more of a making the most of wherever you are?
I was a little surprised at first, but actually this morning, man, I was reminded that back in 1994, this guy named Keith Davis was supposed to wrestle Razor Ramon, but I ended up becoming Keith Davis at 16 years of age on Monday Night Raw
Hmm.
in 1994. I was a junior in high school, and just to be here in 2020 of October and to still be doing this thing, this craft that I love to do, it's just amazing, and I'm blessed each and every day. So I really don't care where I go. They can send me to NXT if they want to. I'm just happy to be involved.
Was that ever a thought in coming to NXT? Because some people, when they come back to the company, actually the weekend that you guys came back at WrestleMania 33, Drew kind of came over with you guys around that same time. He went right to NXT. Obviously, you guys had the amazing moment at WrestleMania. Was there ever a thought in your mind of maybe going to NXT, or was it always Raw and SmackDown for you?
For me, it was always Raw or SmackDown, but I'm not gonna lie, I have had some kind of visions too of like if I did go to NXT, like just being all painted up like yellow and black and NXT colors, and being some kind of old school, like I don't know, like leader, Jokerish style or something weird. I can't explain it, but now
Yeah.
I mainly naturally always I feel home on SmackDown or Raw, but man, I love the WWE universe, so I'm open to whatever.
You mentioned the Willow character before. Is the Fiend the ultimate character that Willow character would work against? Is that kind of like your dream feud, so to speak, right now in WWE?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Every time I see the Fiend, especially, I mean, in person, it's like it's so exciting because it's just like artistic and like different and scary and cool. And yeah, I just man, and Willow was such a huge part of my early days in wrestling. Like when we were doing the Independence and the Omega deal, like Willow was like my main thing. He was like an in betweener type dude, like good and bad, but just that whole alter ego thing
Mhm.
about the Fiend and Bray Wyatt. It's just so exciting, man, to think that might actually happen one day. But I've already kind of tried to get on getting a new, cooler, like evolved type of mask made, and definitely I have the idea of how Willow will look if he does enter the WWE universe, and it's so exciting to dream about that in my head.
And fans are looking forward to that moment if and when it hopefully does happen. Now, you mentioned the Sheamus feud before and kind of how it was controversial and whatnot. And you mentioned on the bump a couple of months ago how, it could have been uncomfortable at times. Obviously, it was kind of similar to the CM Punk feud from over a decade ago, and both were great for different reasons, both feuds. Do you think fans were justified in, I mean, not everyone, but some fans were feeling kind of the way that it was, like you said, it was kind of a controversial feud? Or was it more a matter of if I'm okay with it, then other people should kind of be okay with it too?
I think it was like that as far as I'm concerned because even close friends will say, "Oh, that's messed up. I can't believe I wish they'd just leave that alone and not
Mhm.
go there." I was like, "The outcome's going to be worth it, man. The
Yep.
outcome is going to be worth it." And to me, it was. I mean,
Yep.
because we've moved on from that, and I like them. And there's just, I think it's kind of therapeutic about that. Even the simple fact of admitting what you are when you are an alcoholic and reminding yourself on a daily basis of how bad it can be. It's helped me like tremendously. So I don't see anything wrong with that. I thought it was a great way to kick off my hopefully last final killer run in WWE and a long, 5 to 10 year run. So yeah, I don't know, man, but I'm all good. I'm glad we did it, and I was very proud of that bar fight.
Yeah, and the payoff was great too. Like you said, the bar fight was awesome. I got to see it in that episode of SmackDown a couple of months ago. So before the feud with Sheamus, you actually came back on that SmackDown right before WrestleMania, and the timing was just terrible because you were on that backstage and you like you said, you were coming back from knee surgery, and you were like, "Oh, I can't wait to be back." Hear the roar of the crowd and whatnot. And then literally the first show that you were back for was that pandemic SmackDown with no fans, no one was there, so the timing just was crazy. How was as someone who kind of feeds off the crowd? How was that experience for you being on that first empty arena SmackDown? And that was back in March. So were there any plans that you know of for you to be at WrestleMania before you kind of came back later on?
No, there was no plans. All I knew then, and like in the moment, because I'd been going to TVs week after week, but just hadn't been used yet. And originally, I was supposed to return in Detroit, Michigan, I think, in front of like 20,000 people, and
Mhm.
I was so excited. But then it ended up being the first show at the Performance Center in front of nobody, complete silence. And I'll never forget like wrestling Corbin for the first time. And it was just it was like we're out there just training. I mean, I knew the cameras were on and people were watching this at home all across the world or whatever. But yeah, there was no like adrenaline. It was just so surreal, but it's the way it kind of had to be. And what's really weird is like Matt, he didn't hang around. And when he debuted in that other pro wrestling world, it was the same thing. It was
Mhm.
like the first show in front of nobody, I think. So
Mhm.
what a strange year 2020 has been. But it's really cool, like to be at the Thunderdome every week. It's kind of a step in that right direction to getting back to normal eventually, hopefully. So it's just cool to
Mhm.
be a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially since that environment in the Thunderdome too made that ladder match that we spoke about before so special because you can kind of, hear the fans with the audio in there. It didn't really feel like there was anything different about it, which was cool. You mentioned Matt. Have you been able to keep in touch? Not keep in touch, obviously, he's your brother, but kind of keep tabs on what he's been doing elsewhere right now and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. We still keep each other updated on what's going on, and it's cool, man. And who knows, as far as a lot of fans, oh man, are we gonna ever see the Hardy Boys together again? I was like, oh, most likely, yeah, but I don't know when, I don't know where. But that's one thing about Matt and myself. We have been very lucky, man, to still be doing this later in our lives. I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing from where it all started to where it is.
And we actually just celebrated the 10-year anniversary. I know you mentioned this on, I think, your Twitter page or Instagram, when you did the Antichrist, the professional wrestling character elsewhere in Impact, which was such a great character for as long as we got it for. And you've been a good guy for practically your entire WWE run. Not maybe that character specifically, but have you ever been interested in maybe doing something similar to that in the WWE world? Because it kind of felt like it was short-lived when we got it that first time over 10 years ago.
Oh, for sure, man. That's honestly one of the things I kind of feel like I want to make right, because it was such a cool character and something so unique and different for me, especially when I'm trying to, turn the people and make them dislike me in some way, shape, or form. So, yeah, it's like one of those things that pretty much addiction killed that character with that terrible thing that happened with Sting. So that's kind of one of the things that now I think I have the opportunity to make right and to make possible. And Willow in the WWE universe is another huge thing I definitely want to do. But that's what's cool, man. My dreams seem to come true in the WWE and in the wrestling world. So it's just exciting to have all these visions and to think about the possibilities.
And you went on record, for a long time in saying that you wanted a Hell in a Cell match in WWE, and we were able to get that 2 years ago. So obviously anything is possible. But when you originally left in 2009, obviously that promo that everyone talks about, you said it's not goodbye forever, rather for just right now. And it was another 8 years before we saw you in WWE again. When you cut that promo, is there in your, maybe not right away, but is there a timetable? Like, okay, I'll be back in a year, I'll be back in a couple of years, or did you just know that at some point I want to end my career in WWE?
I think that's what I knew deep down, because I had no idea what was about to happen back then when I left, because it's been public record. It's been a hell of a roller coaster ride, good and bad with me and addiction and alcoholism. So, yeah, I think just, man, it's been more than me this whole time. So something deep down was letting me know that I'd be back. I wasn't sure when, wasn't sure where, but I mean, here we are, here I am. And I'm so blessed to wake up each and every day happy and healthy and with my family, man. So my gratitude is crazy off the charts.
And obviously everything happens for a reason. We saw you and Matt back at WrestleMania 33. That was my first WrestleMania. So to be there for that moment, growing up a big Hardy Boys fan, was absolutely surreal, to say the least. Can you describe that reaction that you guys got in the building that night for WrestleMania 33, being back on that night?
Yeah, as far as moments, man, that one's like probably the moment now, because that was just, that whole month leading up to that night was so stressful. I mean, just and that whole expedition to gold, Matt said, it was so genius. I mean, because winning all those tag team titles and all the different companies, and then to finally win the main, tag team titles was just at WrestleMania in front of that many people was just incredible, man. So yeah, it's just and I think it was meant to be, and I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. And even Matt, he's exactly where he's supposed to be, I believe. But me and my spiritual connection with all of this, I think it has a lot to do with my mother. We lost our mother at a very young age, and just talking to her every day through God and spiritual stuff. I mean, it's just I don't know what I would do without it, but I'm glad I don't have to do it alone.
And final few questions for you. What are your thoughts in the current state of the industry right now, WWE, with kind of how the style of wrestling has changed from when you guys first started 20 years ago, and as to what it kind of is today, and how there's, genuine competition right now? What are your kind of state of the industry thoughts right now in wrestling?
I think it's really exciting, man. Just watching, I mean, I'll be watching a lot more Raw now, but being that I'm on it, but there's been a few times when I do my Instagram painted face post, I've already got back to my hotel and I'm watching the end of the show, and man, this Roman Reigns stuff and Paul Heyman, I mean, it's just, to me, it's been incredibly powerful, and it's so exciting to be a part of that. And I even, I just go, wow, this is cool to still be a member of the WWE universe and a wrestling fan at heart. It's just so exciting, and yeah, I think it's, I mean, really good. It's very strange, probably the strangest it's ever been because of COVID, but it's just going to be so fun to see how it evolves, hopefully for the better. There's always, I've said this a lot too, man. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I hope it gets better, but 99% of me knows it's going to get better. But I'm like, that 1%, man, maybe this is the early stages of Armageddon. We're slowly just, it's going to get worse and worse. I think it's important to be afraid of stuff like that. And,
Yeah.
but overall, yeah, I'm just excited to be involved in pro wrestling, and gosh, I can't wait for everything to get back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. Same here. Final question for you, Jeff. What's the most memorable match / moment that you've been involved in your career, as well as what your kind of ultimate goal is as you kind of enter, like you said earlier, the last stage of your career in WWE?
For me, especially not, teaming with Matt now, it's got to be the ladder match with the Undertaker, because to this day I still get complimented on that match. The story of the underdog versus the legend, the man, and he did so much for me that night. For me, just telling the story of never staying down, always getting back up. It's just so metaphorically twin to my real life. Just get knocked down and keep getting back up. Screwing up your life and keep fixing it. That's been the story of my life, man, since my early 20s, kind of. But I wouldn't change it for anything, man. I live now with no regrets and no predictions, and man, faith over fear, all that good stuff. And but yeah, the Undertaker and young Jeff Hardy, when I kept getting up, I think that did so much for me. It's insane.
And is getting that one more world title run your kind of ultimate goal as you wind down your career?
I think so, for sure, because naturally, to be the WWE champion, that's the peak, and I want to get back there again. And even the Universal champion, I would love to say I've been the Universal champion. And the beautiful thing is it's possible, as long as I stay on that straight and narrow, and I love that. And Hell in a Cell is this weekend, so I can't wait to see Roman and Uso go at it, man, and Randy and Drew. I mean, these two titans clashing, man, it's just going to be so good.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. You and Elias as well, the pay-per-view on Sunday. Thanks so much for the time, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thanks for being an inspiration. Take care, man. So great to see you doing awesome right now in WWE.
Thank you too, brother. Have a good day.